truly rare to find cars in this day and age with such unequivocal global appeal, but the car next to me, the Mercedes-Benz GLC, seems to have the formula for global success all figured out. Not only is it one of the best-selling Mercedes-Benz India cars ever since its arrival in 2016, last year it was the largest selling Mercedes-Benz globally, having sold over 343,000 units. So what we're here to find out is what makes this car, essentially the SUV version of the C-Class, so popular. Let's start with a few more numbers. Since its global launch in 2015, the GLC has sold over 2.6 million units and 13,000 units in India. It sits comfortably at the intersection of luxury, practicality, comfort and price, and has emerged as a more family-friendly alternative to the likes of the C-Class. Now, it wouldn't be a stretch to call the GLC the most important car for Mercedes-Benz India right now. And that means there's very little in terms of margin for error, because space, comfort, practicality, performance, tech, everything, every criteria has to be perfected with the GLC if it has to retain its global bestseller status. So what we're here to find out is whether this, the new, improved, slightly larger, slightly more powerful, slightly more comfortable version, can do that. Can it hold on to its bestseller status? Let's find out. Let's start with the basics. The Mercedes-Benz GLC is now sleeker, a bit narrower, and most importantly, a bit longer. To be specific, it's longer by 60 millimeters now, 15 of which find their way into the wheelbase, thereby providing that crucial extra legroom for the rear passenger. There's also 70 liters of additional boot space, tallying up to a class-leading 620 liters. And then there is a reworked grille, slimmer LED headlamps, and lots of chrome bordering the air dam. Now, in here is where things get really interesting. What you're looking at is the party piece of the second generation GLC. Those familiar with the C-Class will immediately know where this is coming from. It's almost exactly like that. You get this massive iPad size, and it really is. It's 11.9 inches, high resolution screen, and it just sort of seamlessly blends into the transmission tunnel. Of course, you get wireless Apple CarPlay, also with a sizable high resolution. But what it actually gets is the latest MBUX system. It's actually the first SUV from Merc in India to feature the latest NTG7 telematics. So you get natural voice recognition, you get over-the-air updates, you also get to pair it with the Mercedes Me app, of course, and that means you're able to tell whether somebody's broken into it, whether you've left a window open, your trip details, your service history, all manner of data, VIN number, everything goes into that Mercedes Me app. Of course, the panoramic sunroof is a big draw for people in the luxury category. So what they've changed this time is that you don't actually have to keep the button pressed. You just sort of swipe your finger and it just continues to open. There is this pinstripe treatment, and it's kind of designed to take your eye away from the fact that it's got a slightly, flimsy, plasticky feel to it, and that's perhaps the only real weak point of this cabin, because it's otherwise quite fabulously finished. You've got this really lovely, stitched leather on top. Every other material is also really lavish, and it's just extremely well finished. Of course, the multimedia and the infotainment system is about as good as it gets. So on those fronts, there's really no issue whatsoever. What remains to be seen now is if the other incremental changes that have been made to its performance, to the engine, really make for a significantly better car. So starting with what's really new, and that is the new off-road mode. So let me just take you through what that's like, because there are a few more party tricks that this thing has to offer, and they are pretty neat. So we are surrounded by rocks, as you can see, and this is what the 360-degree camera view looks like. It's pretty clear, it's high resolution, but what's really impressive is just how quickly it changes the orientation. So here we get a really crisp view of the background. I don't even need to lift my head. I have such a clear view, even though we're surrounded by obstructions, and that I think is easily the best in class. This, however, isn't quite as impressive as the camera work when you go off-roading. The GLC has always been more of a soft roader globally. I know Mercedes-Benz likes to call it an SUV, and it is that, with 201 millimeters of ground clearance, bash plates. It's got the equipment, but now with this latest MBUX system and the kind of cameras they've equipped it with, there is a dedicated off-road mode. And that tells you your gradient, that tells you the angle, and it comes with this invisible bonnet function, which essentially shows you at speeds under about 8 kilometers per hour. It actually shows you what's going on underneath the bonnet and between the wheels. So you're able to articulate it a lot more accurately, which is really the domain of high-end SUVs. And the fact that it can do that when it really didn't need to, it was already a very complete, comfortable family carrier, but just the fact that it's willing to go that extra distance shows you that Mercedes-Benz really means business when it comes to retaining this thing's bestseller status. It's all about doing a bit more than what the competition is doing. I mean, this kind of terrain also, the Merc just absolutely wafts over surfaces. It's truly impressive. The new GLC then is full of surprises when it comes to going off-road. Can it be just as surprising on the road? Now, Mercedes-Benz knows not to tamper with what is a winning formula, and so not that much has been changed with regards to the powertrain. So you get the same 2-liter turbo petrol that was there earlier, except now it's the GLC 300, so the denomination has changed, but the overall power levels as far as the engine is concerned remain the same. What they have added is a new 48-volt starter motor, the same one found in the C-Class, but thankfully the wheezy 1.3-liter turbo petrol in the C-Class has not found its way into the slightly heavier GLC, and this car is all the better for it, and I'm personally far more grateful as a result. And this gives this a good amount of grunt, because you got 258 bhp, but in addition to that you also get 23 additional horsepower thanks to the electric starter motor, and under hard acceleration you can access that power plus an additional 200 Newton meters of torque, which makes this quite a performer. And it's got a nice throaty engine note to it, so you don't really mind it. What's also really impressive is that despite being relatively softly sprung, as we just witnessed when we were driving it over mounds and bumpy surfaces, it's actually pretty tight around the corners. I mean, this thing really likes to go for it. And even in profile, you can tell that there are sporty ambitions. This thing does want to sort of go around the bends a little quickly, more than most SUVs in its size and its shape. I don't think even Mercedes-Benz could have predicted the meteoric rise of the GLC back when it was launched globally in 2015, after which, of course, it's gone on to sell over 2 million units. But now that they know they're onto something special in pretty much every market, I mean, think about it. Robust derivatives of the C-Class already existed. You had an all-road estate version, you had the standard estate version. So you had a lot going on. And there are markets with different preferences. Some like estate, some like the C-Class sedan. So for all of them unilaterally have such a strong preference for a GLC means Merc now knew that they were on to something special. The previous GLC left little room for improvement, but Mercedes-Benz has somehow managed to find it. The new second generation GLC feels like a more dynamic and technologically enhanced version of its predecessor. And sure, suspension is a little stiffer around sharper bends, but less body roll around the bends and added power does create a more thrilling and rewarding driving experience. Plus, the addition of the new camera functions both on and off the road means there's no going back to the old ways. The second gen GLC is practically peerless and in no danger of being dethroned anytime soon.